Gabriel Chrisman, all the viewers out there know about DeLoreans, but they don't know everything about DeLoreans, and what a unique history. Tell us a little bit about how this car came into your ownership, and then bring us up to speed on what DeLoreans are all about.
Well, the cars are something that was developed by John DeLorean after he left GM, and he wanted to produce what he described as the ethical sports car, a concept which evolved for him over time. But when he started the design of these in the mid-70s, he went to an Italian designer called Giugiaro, who has done a number of different cars, had him do the body design. When it finally got to production, he had Lotus do the engineering and had the car produced in Northern Ireland. And I had always wanted one. Ever since as a kid, I saw the Back to the Future movie. It's the way a lot of people got introduced to these. But when I started learning more about the history of what went on and just how crazy it was for a guy to leave, a position at GM, he was a vice president, considered to be the guy on the way to the top, and to give all that up, to go off and do his own thing and sort of, no matter what other people said, just try something new. Mm-hmm. And here it is. I mean,
so much about the DeLorean is unique with it's actually stainless steel, right?
The body is stainless steel. The frame was originally meant to be stainless steel, but in the course of working it up to production, that sort of fell by the wayside. And so the frame is epoxy coated steel.
The story I heard is originally it was going to be, well, I see you have it on your card there, a DMC 12, but the 12 was to represent $12,000, which in no time ended up $24,000?
Exactly. That's, through a process of feature creep and through a process of just expenses for the company, the price doubled by the time it went to market. And that was not to its advantage. So.
And the next thing that's the most unique about this, of course, is the way the doors open. Can you give us a demonstration of that?
Do that. So the gull wings are designed first as a marketing thing, obviously, but also they take up less space to the side of the car where they open. And these ones have a remote system that was added, obviously aftermarket. That was not original, by a guy named Toby Peterson at DMC Northwest.
What kind of reaction do you get at shows when you pull in a DeLorean, and also when you pull in and do that with the doors?
Usually when you pull in, a lot of people look and they're like, "What's that?" And you open the doors and they're like, "Oh, Back to the Future, DeLorean," and you get all those reactions. So most of the time at car shows, I leave the doors up.
This has an engine in the rear, which nowadays isn't that unusual, but back then it was kind of unusual.
It was really strange. Really, back then, the only other one I know of with the rear engine was the Porsche 911, right? And this is something which people thought would adversely affect the handling, but it really doesn't handle that poorly. It doesn't bother me at all, and I'm used to it, though, of course. But other people drive it, and they say it feels great, and it doesn't have problems in the corners. So.
The power plant on these, did they go from one engine to another? Didn't they kind of go through some different?
They went through a succession of different engines. The prototype had a 4-cylinder Citroen engine, which was very strange, and they knew they weren't going to use that in production. What they ended up with is a Peugeot Renault Volvo 6-cylinder. It's a 2.85 liter. And after they got done putting the U.S. emissions equipment on it, unfortunately, it was only 130 horsepower. It was meant to be 170, and that's what they told all the magazines. So when the magazines got it for testing, they weren't too happy. Yet another reason why it didn't take off.
There's somebody remanufacturing these now, right? Or taking do they have the dies and they're actually making new cars, or they're using old ones and redoing them?
They don't have the dies, unfortunately. They have a lot of stock of body panels and doors. They have stock of engines. The dies actually were surplused by the British government when they were liquidating the factory, and there's video of them being used as fishing weights in the North Sea. So we know they're dead. Yeah. But the company is remanufacturing the cars. They're making new replicas of most of the parts. The dashboard, the binnacle, I believe, is on the way. And torsion bars have recently become available, the spring that opens the doors, which is a really big step because those were a very hard part to come by, and they're indispensable.
There are about, I haven't got the official count, but I think there are about 400 cars here today. Before I approached you to do the interview, I was thinking of doing the interview with you, but I watched how many people were crowded around this car, and also I had to wait forever for you to finish the conversation with these various people. The people love this car.
They do, and it's one thing I like. I love I love talking to people about it. I love giving people the history lesson. A lot of people have misconceptions about the DeLorean. A lot of people confuse them with the Bricklin and things like that. And I get so many people coming up saying, "Oh, you know, it's got aluminum on the outside, and it's got a Ford engine, and it's fun to go through and tell people, because the history is pretty crazy, you know. But it's something that everyone is interested to hear."
In closing, what happens when you get in a wreck on one of these? I would think that it would be hard to repair one of these fenders without it being obvious that it's been repaired.
Mostly people don't really repair these things unless it's a really small ding. They just replace them, and that was actually the concept from DeLorean in the first place. Is that part of the easy maintenance of this car was that if you dented a panel, why, you just replaced it. But it's I know a number of people who have gotten in accidents. There are people who are wizards with stainless who can do amazing jobs, and I just hope I never get put in that position.
And I've been told by a dealer, if you run across one that's painted, that means it was in a wreck.
Very frequently. Yeah. It's a lot easier to fill something in with Bondo and paint over it than it is to fix a dent in stainless steel.
Well, Gabriel, this is a beautiful car. Thank you very much for letting the Vintage Vehicle Show take a closer look at it. And hey, nice jacket, too.
Yeah.